on Australia's business channel. This is Media Week.
Hello, welcome to Media Week. Ahead, Southern Cross Austereo's board meets as the loss of Kyle and Jackie O hits ratings. Twitter TV ratings coming to Australia, and we'll be joined by Marcus Arthur, the Managing Director of BBC Worldwide, UK and Australia and New Zealand. But first, just weeks after turning 83, Rupert Murdoch appears to be putting a succession strategy in place at his media companies. Lachlan Murdoch has been appointed non-executive co-chairman at News Corp and 21st Century Fox. It's been 9 years since he resigned his executive positions and returned to Australia. The eldest Murdoch son has stepped down as 10 chairman as well, but will keep his 8% stake there. For more analysis, our co-host James Manning, editor and publisher of Media Week, is here, of course. James, good to have your company, as always. Were you surprised at this news? Was there a surprise reaction?
Well, I guess there was. You know, Lachlan said for a long time, look, he hasn't really had an interest in going back to having a day-by-day role in the company. Of course, he's never been too far away, though, because he's been on the board of News Corp and then on the board of both companies after the split last year. But then he hasn't had that sort of finger in the day-to-day stuff, which these new roles certainly give him now.
Does this mean that he's being primed to take over from Chase Carey?
Well, you would think so. It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? You know, It's still not an executive position. It's still not. You know, the understanding is he'll set up a commute between here and the US. He'll still base himself in Sydney. Something that's worked well for him so far. Will it work with the more sort of hands-on role? Yet to be seen. But you've got to think that's what he'd like to happen.
Lachlan's had to step down as 10 chairman, and Hamish McLennan obviously taking on that role. What do you make of that move by 10 to put him in that role as well?
Yeah, well, 10 had to do that. I guess Lachlan needed to focus on the big picture in the US and around the rest of the world where the company's got its investments. Hamish, look, he's under a bit of pressure there. This is it's really all down onto him now. He's got no one else there with him. It really the focus will be on him and what happens. He's had some troubles getting some senior executive help, which we've been sort of cataloguing over the last few weeks. But it does seem to be, look, the next step in the, what will happen next to Network 10. It's expected there'll be some sort of takeover. Someone else will come onto the register, if you like, or take a major shareholding, which will sort of, be a bit of an end game perhaps for it.
Some of the other networks have weighed in as well. There were some comments from Seven's Tim Warner about his sounding pretty positive. Is that as to be expected?
Yeah, well, he was saying good things about it. It's a good move for Lachlan. He was saying it's good to see an Australian stepping up there and taking a major role in a big company. And there's been a lot of talk about how successful has Lachlan been in the business world, and I think, he's had some good scores. He's taken a few hits along the way, dodged a couple of bullets, but, some of his involvement with REA, what he's done to Nova Entertainment, they're good pluses. From the stuff that didn't work so well, he's learned from that, A lot of people say, look, you can't be a success in business unless you have a couple of failures along the way, and he's probably ticked that box too.
We spoke about, obviously, Lachlan Murdoch stepping down from 10. 10's had some record low ratings this week. Yeah,
look, we don't like focusing on that, but you can't help notice when you get the figures every day that, they've had a couple of really poor nights this week. So they're looking now to regroup, I guess, after Easter, when sort of MasterChef will be one of the flagship things in their portfolio. They'll be looking for a little bit of improvement.
Yeah, they'll need it. All right, let's get more now on all this. We're joined by Evan Lucas from IG in Melbourne. Evan, good to have your company. What's been the market reaction to this Lachlan Murdoch promotion?
Yeah, very interesting. And listening to James's comments just then, they are very much what the market's watching as well. If you have a look at 10, not on today, today's news has been very flat in terms of what's happened, but if you have a look, since their strategic update, which is around about, 4 weeks ago, they've lost 26% of their shareholding, and they are now back at their yearly lows. Having a look at what's happened at News Corp, they've actually come off this morning, and they're down around about 2.5%. And for the week, if you have a look at what's also going on in that News Corp Fox area, this week they got approval to actually delist 21st Century Fox from the ASX. It was going to happen, but it's actually got that tick off. So that's where the market's looked at it. I also sort of allude to what James just said with regards to Lachlan Murdoch's track record and whether or not it's the right thing. Channel 10's a prime example. He's had a hell of a time trying to get that up. His comments and decisions in the last sort of 18 months have been good and bad. And look, the appointment of Hamish McLennan has certainly been a very big tick, and they have started to see strategic change. But he's had a very rough time, and for that reason, it's an interesting decision out of all the people that you could get to possibly head up News Corp. The question has been asked, is Lachlan Murdoch the right one? Time will tell. So the market reaction has been muted, but it will filter through. And as I said, both places that he's moved to have not had the best of time on the market over the last 2 weeks particularly.
What about 10 longer term? What are you expecting for the stock?
Yeah, again, longer term, and I'm sure James is going to allude to it there, their ratings still remain the biggest issue. And from an advertisement and then from a share market point of view, it is very hard to see how it's going because, again, you cannot see that earnings stream really returning to 10 Holdings anytime soon. I mean, the brokers are all about the fact that they still look like having a negative earnings stream. You're looking at, POS that's going to be, again, on the backward side, and you cannot see them actually breaking out of the net loss that they currently find themselves in for a little while to come. So from that perspective and from a shareholder perspective, I think where they're currently sitting is probably suggesting that they're fair value and they cannot get past 34 cents, and every time they get to about 22 cents, they find support, and they've been stuck in that range now for a very long time. So on that fundamental idea, it's very hard to see 10 moving away from that.
All right, Evan, Lucas, always good to get your analysis. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's go back to James Manning now for some other news. Still related to News Corp, but obviously a lot less global interest in these appointments. Some new appointments as well this week.
Yeah, look, a couple on the sales side of the business, which is very critical now for them. The Shahab Fajami has come across from Mindshare. He's going to take on a national sales director role, and it's great to get some insights of how agencies are viewing the print and the digital news business at present. So he'll be great sort of in that role. Neil Robinson has been promoted internally. He's going to look after digital strategy and digital sales, and then another crucial role, monetising that digital audience. It's not so hard to build a big digital audience, but if you can get the revenue off them, that's a critical role.
And funnily enough, sorry, but back to that Lachlan and James Murdoch news coming during the free TV function in Canberra last night. Yeah,
it did. There were two big things last night, the BBC, which we'll hear about in a minute, and free TV in Canberra. And it was a big distraction for a lot of people at these functions. When that news broke, about 300 people down at that function in Canberra. Harold Mitchell was talking when the news broke, and there was a bit of distraction in the room.
What do they want to achieve at this free TV?
Yeah, look, they were just coming out. They just wanted to, convey again to politicians the importance, what they do for the community, what they do for the people that vote for the politicians. There's a lot of lobbying going on for things like anti-siphoning that, so they want to put their side of the case. They don't want those rules changed. It's a bit harder for them to have a united front on the other media law changes because not everybody within that group agrees for it, which is one of the things that might stop them going through. But look, Harold Mitchell was talking about he thinks there's excessive regulations that maybe hold them back. Some of their just the stuff they have to put up with. And he also had a bit of a dig at international rivals, global players, I guess. He's talking perhaps there about online people sort of, wanting to come in and broadcast IPTV and stuff like that, I imagine.
All right, still in TV, John Stevens, still in focus. We've covered it extensively on the show, but the fight's still going on.
Yeah, look, not a lot's really developed last week. I think 10 have made a statement of claim. 7 have a few weeks to respond to that, so then we'll get a court date, I guess, and find out what's happening. But 10 still saying, look, we're expecting him to be at work on June 9.
They're still expecting to take him on, even after he's
that's what they're saying. I mean, I think maybe their best case scenario is stopping him going back to work at 7. But, publicly they're saying, yeah, we're
expecting him at work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a break here on Media Week. Coming up, our special guest joins us, Marcus Arthur, the Managing Director of BBC Worldwide UK and Australia and New Zealand.